Very well, Council. We resume proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Commissioners, I recall the Managing Director of Gambia Ports Authority, Mr. Tambidu. I don't know where they do. I do apologize to the commissioners. Could you give us just a minute to... I'll call another witness because I don't know what happened. Mr. Tambedu, definitely, we spoke to him this morning, so he must be around. I will I instead call Mrs. Nafi Barry. Mrs. Nafi Barry.
New. Morning. Good morning. It's Quran, huh? You can read off to me. I swear by the Almighty Allah.
I swear by the Almighty Allah.
That the evidence I shall give to this commission.
That the evidence I shall give to this commission.
Shall be the truth.
Shall be the truth.
The whole truth.
The whole truth.
And nothing.
And nothing.
But the truth. So help me Allah.
So help me Allah.
Can wait for further instructions.
Could you kindly state your names, ma'am?
Nafi Bari.
Where do you live?
Kotu West.
You're a public servant?
Yes, ma'am.
What office do you hold?
I am the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Trade and Industry.
Would you like to take a seat? Please sit down.
Thank you.
Mrs. Barry, you worked at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs.
Yes, ma'am.
During which years did you work there?
From 1984 to 2005.
In what capacities?
I started as a fiscal officer and rose through the ranks to Deputy Permanent Secretary in 2005.
Fiscal officer.
Fiscal, FISCAL.
You were summoned in relation to Mahindra tractors.
Yes, ma'am.
This, according to the evidence we have, were tractors that were acquired pursuant to a loan from the Exim Bank of India.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have anything to do with this
Yes,
matter?
ma'am.
Yes. I would like you to explain to the Commission your part, if any, in the acquisition of these tractors and in the securing of the loan first and the acquisition of the tractors. And if you have any documents, you also can present them to the Commission.
Yes, ma'am. In 2005, November 2005, we were to attend the Confederation of Indian Industries Conclave. That's a meeting that is held annually in India. We were supposed to be there with the then Minister of Trade, Honorable Musa Balagay, myself as the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Minister of Trade then, and Mr. Keba Toure, Chief Executive of GIPSA then. So we were to go to this meeting in 2005 in India, and prior to leaving, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or there was a letter from the High Commissioner in India for the Gambia dated 31st of October. I have all those letters indicating that the then Minister or Secretary of State, Honorable Gay, should sign the loan agreement whilst in India attending the conclave.
So this matter was handled at the Ministry of Trade and Industries, not at the Ministry of Finance?
Well, I don't know the reason why, because the then minister had just transferred from Foreign Affairs, being the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and was at Ministry of Trade. It was during the first 2-3 weeks, but the letter that I saw really from the Indian authorities stated that he was supposed to sign. I don't know what transpired before then, but my involvement is when I saw this letter asking the then Minister or Secretary of State to sign this letter whilst he was in India as head of the delegation to the conclave.
What office did you hold at the time at the Ministry of Trade?
I was a Deputy Permanent Secretary then.
Okay. All right, go on. So you saw this letter.
Prior to leaving, I think a day or two before we left, the minister indicated that he was not going anymore for whatever reasons. I didn't know why he didn't go, but he was not able to attend the conclave. So I was to go with Keba Toure. So he issued, he wrote to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, a power of attorney was issued for me to sign, and he also wrote a letter of authorization asking me to sign the loan on his behalf, which I did. I have the letters.
Okay, you have the letters there?
Yes, I do.
Okay, first the letter dated 31st October 2005. If you could take it and put it aside. From, you said, did you say the Consul, the High Commission of India?
The letter dated
31st October, you mentioned, 2005.
this is November 2005. Sorry, I must. November. I'm sorry.
If you can't find it immediately,
Sorry, it's here. 31st October 2005.
31st October 2005, you said that was the commencement of your involvement.
Yes, the letter is here.
All right, can you put it aside? It's from where, actually?
This letter is from the High Commissioner of India for the Gambia in Dakar, Senegal. And it's signed by the High Commissioner designate.
Very well. Who was the Minister of Foreign Affairs at the time?
Then it was Lamin Kababajo.
Okay, thank you. If you could put it to one side. So you said you had an authority and a mandate to
I
go and
did.
sign on behalf of your minister. Could you
Yes,
also
ma'am.
add those to the...
I had an authority. The authority is here, dated 2nd November. Prior to the authority, there's also a letter from the Office of the President, signed by Ibrahim Kamara, asking for the speedy conclusion of the matter, on which the then Honorable Minister had minuted his indication of asking me to represent him with the authority, with a written authority signed by him. I have those two letters.
The speedy conclusion of which matter? Because so far you have told us...
Signing the loan.
What was the loan supposed to be for?
The loan was supposed to be a line of credit for the purchase of tractors and an assembly plant.
Okay, very well. You can add the letter from the Office of the President
And the authority.
The mandate. Can you read the mandate out, please? The mandate.
The mandate, it's captioned authority. Mrs. Nafi Bari, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Department of State for Trade, Industry and Employment, is representing me at the CII Conclave on India-Africa Partnership in New Delhi, November 7 to 8, 2005. Mrs. Bari is hereby authorized to sign on behalf of the Government of the Republic of the Gambia the agreement for the Government of India line of credit in the amount of 6.7 million for the Gambia.
6.7 million
with the Exim Bank of India.
What currency?
6.7 million US dollars.
Okay, thank you.
And it's signed Honorable Musaji Balagay, Secretary of State for Trade, Industry and Employment.
Thank you. If you add it to the other documents that we are going to apply to have admitted. Did you go to India? Did you go to India?
I did. We went to India on the conclave, and on the margins of that, as instructed, I had signed the loan agreement.
Who was on the mission with you to India?
Keba Ture.
Only Mr.
Yes. I went with Keba Ture at the time.
And you said he was CEO Gaipa at the time?
He was CEO Gipsa at the time.
Gipsa?
Gipsa then, yeah.
Then, okay, all right. So you have the loan agreement that you signed?
Yes, I have. Upon return, when I had already signed the agreement is here, and I had forwarded the agreement through a letter dated 22nd of November 2005, and copied the letter then to the Permanent Secretary, Department of State for Foreign Affairs, and the Permanent Secretary, Department of State for Finance and Economic Affairs.
And who are the parties to the agreement?
The parties were the India. Let me just have this. The borrower is the Republic of the Gambia, and the Exim Bank was the lender.
I'm going to show you MS-79. I'd like you to confirm whether it's the same dollar credit line agreement. Is it called dollar credit line agreement, the one you have? Can you look at the cover page? Is it called a dollar credit line agreement?
Yes, it's called Dollar Credit Line Agreement, dated 8 November 2005.
I'm going to show you MS-79A and tell us whether you can identify it. Okay. Can you show the witness MS-79A?
Yes, ma'am, that's the document.
MS-79.
Yeah.
All right. Then that's fine. We have that document. You don't have to add your copy to the bundle.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can hold on to MS-79A in case you want to say anything about it or you want to ask you questions about it.
Okay.
Yes, continue. You signed the agreement.
Yes, ma'am. Upon my return, I forwarded the loan agreement to the Secretary General, Office of the President, and copied to Permanent Secretaries of Finance and Foreign Affairs.
You said it was November 2005.
November 2005.
Okay. Yes. What did you have? Anything else?
And
any other involvement?
That letter is here.
All right. You can add it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Then. Okay. 2005. Then on the instructions of the Secretary General, rather, Office of the President, we were asked to go on a mission to India, and the delegation comprised the Permanent Secretary or Minister of Agriculture then, Mr. Surwa Jaite, myself, Keba Ture, CEO GIPSA, Mama Marena, the CEO of Diverse Teacher then, and Mr. Njoguba from Office of the President.
Diverse Teacher, you mean the Gambia Diverse Teacher
Gambia
Agency?
Diverse Teacher Agency.
What was the purpose of the mission to India this time?
This time, our consul in India had written to the Office of the President indicating that he had shortlisted two companies from where the tractors or the tractors were to be sourced. And our instructions were to go to India, look at the two, and commit to one of them.
You mean visit the two companies?
Companies, yes.
Okay. Who had done the shortlisting?
The consul, our consul general in India, Sanjay Diwan.
On his own?
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. Yeah.
Which ministry was responsible for liaising with the consul in India for the shortlisting? Do you know?
Now, I would think it's the Office of the President, because all the letters that he wrote were directed to the Office of the President.
Okay, very well. So did you go
I
on the
did.
mission?
Yes.
And what happened?
Well, we went and we visited, and we chose Mahendra and Mahendra as the most responsive. Of course, the delegation was headed by Surwa Jaite, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Agriculture. Finally, a document was signed between Mahendra and the government of the Gambia.
Okay. On what basis was Mahendra selected as the most responsive?
At the time, it was to look at, because they were already shortlisted, and I guess they had passed the test, but the two, we were asked to look at the two to see which one we would prefer out of them. And all of them submitted proposals, etc. I can't find the proposal for the other one, but I have seen the proposal, because it's been a long time. I've seen the proposal that came from Mahendra, which was endorsed, and it's here with us, based, and they had given the conditions which I guess at the time were appealing or to us as a delegation, especially headed by the permanent secretary from agriculture, who was probably the person that would have known about tractors, etc. So
thank you. You can add it to the bundle. Did you have a report when you came? Did you make a report when you came back from the mission?
Yes, ma'am, we had a report. Unfortunately, I had searched. I couldn't find any of the reports, but I saw a letter written by Njoguba at the time. Let me see.
What was the date of the mission? The date of the mission to India?
The date of the mission to India was from the 10th to the 15th of April 2006.
All right. I'll look for the letter you referred to,
Yes,
and I'll show you a
I'm trying
document.
to look for this letter that was written to acknowledge. Not this one.
Ms. Bell, I'll show you exhibit MS-79A. Can you show the witness exhibit MS-79A?
Yeah, I think I've seen the letter.
You've
now.
seen the letter?
I don't know whether that is the one, but
No,
there's
no.
a letter dated May 6, 2006.
All right. What's that letter?
Let me see.
I'm showing the witness exhibit MS-79A. This is a document that was admitted from the Ministry of Finance.
I see, okay. I don't have this.
Do you remember if this document? If you don't, you remember this document?
Looks familiar.
What is it? Why does it look familiar?
I mean, it's stating the objectives of the mission and the delegation, the composition of the delegation, which is correct. And really, I have seen to visit the two companies, that is Sonalika, etc., to engage, that was right, to ensure that the most responsive company for the tractor assembly plan supplies some tractors, number of horsepower to be decided for use during 2006 cropping season to fast track.
I'm showing it to you because you referred to a mission report. That purports to be a mission report covering the same mission that you mentioned.
Yeah.
Is that the mission report that you recollect? You can't remember. If you cannot remember,
at this time, I can only say it looks familiar, but I can't confirm.
Very well. You were referring to a letter from Mr. Njoguba?
Yes.
Yes.
I know
what is that letter?
That a letter dated May 6, 2006 was written by Mr. Njoguba on behalf of the Secretary General, again writing to the Secretary General, saying official delegation to India from 10 to 15. Can I read, ma'am?
What's the purpose of the letter?
The letter was just saying that a Gambian delegation comprising 5 senior officials led by the Permanent Secretary, Department of State of Agriculture, visited India from these dates with directives to identify and contract an Indian company that would be able to supply the Gambia with tractors as soon as possible, etc. And it also talks about, sir, the delegation recommended. The delegation was also able to engage. I mean, it's a sort of a report. Probably this would have
Does it indicate the basis for recommending the Mahindra and Mahindra?
No, it didn't.
It didn't. All right, that's fine. Add it, since you're producing it, you can add it to your bundle.
Yeah.
All right, so what happened after you recommended Mahindra and Mahindra?
Well, after we recommended Mahindra and Mahindra, like I said, the agreement was signed. We brought back the agreement.
What agreement was signed?
The agreement between the government of the Gambia and Mahindra. Okay. There was a purchase, was it a purchase agreement?
Do you have the agreement?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I have the purchase agreement.
What is the date of the agreement?
The agreement was dated 12th of April 2006.
Okay.
And it's here.
Yes.
I have it.
Can you tell us, not all the details, but the basis of the agreement, I suppose, most important element, if you like, of the agreement. You are purchasing, you said what, tractors or an assembly line, or exactly what did the agreement provide?
Wow.
And the value, of course, of the agreement, the value of the agreement.
The desirable requirement was for 500 tractor units. I think that was what we were looking for. I know that was there. And they had also indicated as part of the agreement the warranty and other things. They were to, I think, supply...
500 tractor units for how much?
Ma'am, I can't remember unless I get
the agreement doesn't state it? How much?
Unless I get into the agreement itself, because the agreement is voluminous.
Who signed the agreement on
the
behalf
agreement
of the
was signed by Surwa Jaite.
He was permanent secretary.
He was permanent secretary, Minister of Agriculture.
All right. Can I have a look at the agreement that you have? Can I have a look at the agreement?
Yes, please.
There's reference to an offer that was made. Do you have a copy of that offer from Mahindra and Mahindra? And the terms of the offer being acceptable?
No, ma'am.
All right. Can you give her back the agreement? I'd like you to look at clause 6 in any event and confirm whether that was the consideration for the 500 tractors. What does clause 6 say?
Clause 6, the agreement is for the contract amount of US $6.7 million as per the enclosed pro forma invoices.
Okay. All right, thank you. And could you just tell us from the pro forma invoice attachments, just confirm that those were the implements that were supposed to be supplied?
Performer invoice.
You have the pro forma invoice?
That's what I'm trying to look for. Yes, the pro forma invoice is here.
Yes. And I think there is the bid of 12th April 2006 attached, which is for the commissioning of 500 units of four-wheel tractors from India. Can you confirm that?
Yes,
From
ma'am.
Mahindra and Mahindra.
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
thank you. Could you add the agreement to your bundle then? So what happened after that, Mrs. Barry?
Ma'am, after that, I do understand that the tractors arrived in the Gambia because there's much, but that much is hearsay. I was not involved after that. I don't know anything more about the tractors.
Okay. Did you see the tractors?
No. I have not seen the tractors, although I heard that they were in country.
All right. Do you, as the Ministry of Trade, were you in any way involved in the servicing of the debt? No, your ministry was not.
No, ma'am, it's the Minister of Finance.
Did you understand what the purpose of purchasing 500 tractors was?
Yes, my understanding was that they were trying to mechanize agriculture in the country. And it was also, my understanding then also was that the tractors were not supposed to be assembled there. They were to be brought in pieces and assembled at Kotu, the MSA, I can't remember what it is.
MSG, Maintenance Service?
Maintenance Services Agency,
Yep.
so that they would create employment and also promote people to get into the skills of trying to have skills, really. That was my understanding of the whole issue.
This concept of mechanizing agriculture, was there any concept paper, any policy around it, any strategy?
Not from the perspective of the Ministry of Trade, probably at agriculture. Agriculture may have that strategy or plan in place to mechanize agriculture. As far as we're concerned, coming from the Ministry of Trade, my involvement was being asked to go and sign and thereafter identified to be part of a delegation that went to validate what was given to us by the our consul general or whatever he's called, honorary consul, and that was it, ma'am.
But I would have expected that the Minister of Trade had an interest in ensuring that at least the purpose, which was partly, as you said, to create employment, was realized, or at least some sort of industrialization, which of course I think it's within your portfolio, was also realized. Was there any follow-up by your ministry regarding this matter?
No, ma'am.
Why wasn't there any follow-up? Who was your permanent secretary at the time?
Then it was Mr. Suleiman Samba.
Okay. Very well. How long have you been were you at the Ministry of Trade after that?
Actually, in 2005, whilst we transacted this, I was in the Ministry of Trade as Deputy Permanent Secretary.
And you stayed on after that?
And I stayed on. I stayed on till 2009, went back to finance, but came back shortly after in February 2010 and became the Permanent Secretary.
Okay. There was no task force about this matter at all, these Mahindra tractors and the mechanization program?
There was, yes, ma'am, there was a task force, and I recall that in one of the meetings we were invited, but we saw the invitation late and could not attend. But thereafter, we were not party to any of the meetings, if I recall rightly. I know that one of the meetings we were invited, but we didn't attend. So I'm not very sure about that. It's been a while. I tried to look for these documents, but unless
Which ministry was coordinating the task force? Do you recollect?
Minister of Finance. Minister of Finance.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mrs. Bell. Mr. Chairman, those are the questions I have for the witness. Do you have questions?
Thank you very much. You may leave now.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry. The documents. I omitted to admit the documents. Can you collect the documents and our exhibits, please?
Your exhibit is here. These are my documents.
And our own exhibits. There were two handed over to the witness.
Sorry.
Two.
That's the other one.
Please wait whilst we admit the documents. Yeah? Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
I should wait.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have admitted letters and agreements relating to a credit facility of US $6.7 million for mechanization, agricultural mechanization project.
Where's the book? bundle of correspondence and other documents commencing 31st of October 2005 and ending 6 May 2006 relating to Mahindra tractors. Admitted, Mag MS-80.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, the number, the exhibit number, I missed it.
MS-80, 80.
M80. Thank you.
You finished with that?
Yes.
Very well, you may leave. Thank you.
I call Mr. Surwa Jaiche.
Surwa, witness number.
Can I have the bundle?